Hi there, welcome to the archives. So we are now in Women's History Month. So what I want to do is first, I think my first post for this month is going to be looking at the topic of pygmies and why this conversation. I saw a post recently on Instagram from a few people, specifically I think it was Jasmine's Garden. Folks have also been talking about Love is Blind, specifically that character, the one everybody was making fun of, who rejected the doctor because of his own insecurities. I think Dr. Jeff did a post on covering why men like that will make you look like you're the problem, right? Oh, you're not CrossFit enough for me, when the whole time he's actually negotiating his own insecurities. I have not, full disclosure, I have not watched Love is Blind yet. So next week I'll probably watch it and then see how it connects to this conversation. But for me, I have a lot to say about this conversation, mostly because I've kept a lot of it into myself, or I watch people make little sneak disses and stuff. And I find, like I said, in December I did this series on Why Does He Do That, which is looking at abusers and some of the things that they do, why we are attracted to them as straight women. This conversation right now is exclusively for straight women. I'll get into the queer stuff as I close. But right now we're just talking about a heterosexual context, right? Men who, I don't know if they necessarily desire women, but men who date, marry women, women who love, marry, date men. I try to avoid getting into this conversation online because I think a lot of these conversations are stuff that we should be having with people privately, but a lot of people don't, and then we get online to do it. The public shaming part is what draws me in, right? As somebody who has a PhD in Feminist and Gender Studies, whose PhD specifically looked at the role of shame. So this is my entry point. This is why I think I can talk about this from an angle of shame. Right, I've studied this. I spent almost 10 years doing my PhD. I was really interested in the role of emotions. So fear, shame, and trauma, right? What do fear, shame, and trauma do to our interpersonal relationships? How do they separate and divide us? Where do they keep us stuck? Where does shame keep us unaccountable? How? What exactly is shame? How does it operate, right? And so what I learned is that shame, pretty much the base root word, the definition is to cover, okay? That's a Germanic version of it from the European Goths, where a pagan society back in Europe, back in the days. Okay, for them, shame was just to cover. And that's usually what shame has us doing. We cover things that we're ashamed of. Excuse me. We hide it, we pretend it's not there, we wear masks, we don't want to be seen as we are because we're ashamed that it's going to get rejected, it's going to get denied, it's going to get made fun of, and so we pretend that we're not that. And I think this whole conversation of pygmies shows a lot of women how we negotiate shame. Okay, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, because those that I find online making fun of pygmies that are very loud about being pygmies tend to be former reformed pygmies. Yes or no? Right? They claim they've never been a pygmy a day in their life. That's usually how shame works. You have to cover that. You're ashamed of it. You're not going to go online and be like, oh yeah, I've been a pygmy. Is when you find it so shameful and embarrassing, right? You have to separate yourself from that. You cannot be that which you think you are above. That pygmy shit is beneath me. I'm not a pygmy. Call me a pygmy one more time. They don't like to be called pygmies. That's usually when you know somebody's negotiating something. Because why would you care? If you're not that, why would you care? Right? Why would you care? Why would it bother you so much? But in my experience, I'll speak for myself. As somebody who has, I wouldn't say I was really a pygmy ever. And I think that's the gag, because a lot of people have a revisionist history. Right? And this is why I say pay attention. The ones who are online talking about pygmies, people being desperate, were once desperate. And I've always found myself in the love triangles. That's one of my patterns. Right? But usually what happens is I will probably end up not necessarily rejecting, but being like, ugh, or no, not yet, I don't, right? I don't want it. So then you can always have him. So then she wins. You won, mama. Congratulations. You got the ring. But then what happens is, but then now I'm like, oh, right? Seeing him with another woman, and we talk about this. It's usually not men that women, it's usually, they make it all about them. But, oh, this is what you're like in a relationship. Maybe I do want you back. Now you spin the block. Go back to what you once rejected. Now you're desperate. That's what bothers them. You won. You did some desperate shit to win. I didn't. I backed off. I blocked. I moved out of town. Matter of fact, I went all the way north. I moved. I left you all. Enjoy your marriage. I dipped. I disappeared. Now when they come back, and you're like, oh, nostalgia, loneliness, right? Desperation. Yes, it's not to deny the desperation, but don't forget that you used some desperate measures to get that ring. Because now that they have that ring, they don't consider themselves pick-me because they were picked. They were chosen. So how can you be a pick-me when you were already chosen? But you did some desperate things. You forget that. They have to forget that. That's how shame works. We have to forget that we were ever associated with that lifestyle. Because now I'm above it. Now I get to talk mad shit. And now I'm going to talk extra mad shit because I have to make sure I distance myself from that. Right? It's like internalized homophobia. A lot of people who are queer now, talking loud about homophobics, were once homophobic themselves. And they had to be loud about being homophobic to not look like they were gay or lesbian or bi or any of that. When they were in the closet, they were likely homophobic themselves to not look like that. Now that they're out, now they have to go hard at the homophobes to be like, oh, I was never homophobic. I've been gay my whole life. I love it over here. But that was not necessarily the same story, right? And so I think this conversation for me is important because it allows me to talk about shame, how a lot of us are triggered, right? Even though we might not, I think the use of the word triggered, it gets thrown a lot around. Everything triggers us. Not to like capitalize off small t trauma, but I think it's a trauma. It is something that a lot of women have been in love triangles. And when you're hearing people talk about pick-me's, they have usually been in a love triangle. They have usually been competing with another woman for a man, which is a whole element of pick-me. Pick me, don't pick her, pick me. Me, I want to win, right? That essentially is a pick-me. And so in this conversation, I want to talk about both sides, right? As a hit dog, they say hit dogs holler. Well, let me holler right quick. As somebody who can acknowledge that I have been a pick-me, right? I come from a family of pick-me's. I could think of only 2 cousins that I would consider maybe not pick-me's. And even them, because I don't know their romantic lives. I'm not really that close with them anymore, or we're never close with them. And to me, they're very queer in their politics, maybe, and or their sexuality. Only 2 cousins. Only 1 auntie I could think of that was not a pick-me. And even she has been a pick-me in her past, right? It's a cultural thing. So when people act like they're not it, you have to act like, oh, you're so unique and special that you broke through the system? you just came out the womb out of the matrix? You were just woke from day one? Girl, stop lying, right? But we can't tell that story because it's shameful. We have to distance ourselves from it. If you can admit that you've been a pick-me, that's when I know you're no longer a pick-me. Because you sat and grappled with that shit. You really faced yourself like, ugh, I was disgusting. I got God, right? So lots of people are talking about it. Love is Blind, Jasmine's post. I didn't watch the whole thing. To the part where she went to go get the Switch, and then I was like, ooh, girl, the film Black History Month. I don't know about. I don't know if I want to be talking about whipping women right now. Catch me maybe in April when Black History Month is done, when Women's History Month is done. Then we could talk about whipping other women. But like for now, I'm a kinky girly, right? So I don't mind that conversation usually, but it just felt like, oh wow, I don't know who hurt you right now, I don't know who triggered you right now, but something is really, you are in your feelings, right? And that's okay, you can be in your feelings, but I just felt like this is not about me, you're working through your stuff, and I'm gonna go before you siphon my energy, right? Before you bring me into where you are at, I'm just gonna respectfully just decline this invitation. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but I have seen a couple of videos from there, and I do agree. That's why I can't get mad. Yeah, you're right. Amen. Take us to church. Absolutely. Because it's an epidemic, and it's really embarrassing. Not only is it embarrassing, it could be very dangerous, right? And I'm going to get into that in some of the posts coming up. There's dangerous consequences to being a pick-me. And that's the whole point. It's because pick-me's, we do the work of the patriarchy, which is why I'm going to have this conversation this month. I learn a lot from how I see myself in others, right? So like when I watch Love is Blind, I'm like, oh, ew, that's what I look like. Oh, this is how he manipulated me. Ah, right? So it helps to see ourselves in others, which is why I don't really mind being an example. What is that word? A cautionary tale, right? Because I wish I had seen that. I wish my mother had sat me down and had a conversation about pick-me's with me way earlier. I wish my aunties had talked to me. I wish somebody in my family would sit down and be like, yes, I have done this. I have done some disgusting things. I've cooked for men I wasn't even engaged to, trying to compete with a white woman for this man, trying to compete with this person for this man, and I still didn't get him. Oh, that's embarrassing. And he still didn't choose you. But I think what's even more embarrassing is when he does pick you, but he still doesn't choose you. At least I lost. You won. But you won and you're still looking over your shoulder? Ooh. You got the ring and you're still not secure. Yikes. I pray that never finds me. Which is why I don't mind staying single. I would rather be single than be in a marriage where I was still not chosen. Where I'm still competing with other women. It's not worth it. And we're going to get into why it's not worth it. I've been on both sides, right? Being a pick-me and a survivor of pick-meisms. When you know what it's like to have a pick-me mother who chooses her man over and over and over and over, that eats it way at you. I got some words for you pick-me's. So I was right there with Jasmine. I feel you. That shit is disgusting. You should be embarrassed of yourself. How dare you? So I got some words for the pick-me's. That'll be the second one. I'm going to do one on why being pick-me is nasty, nasty work. And I will also do one on why shaming pick-me's publicly online is also nasty, nasty work. Because both of it is embarrassing. Why are we getting online and fighting other women over the topic of men? Who cares? You won. You lost. Everybody get over it. Now we're arguing, fighting with each other over these men? Nobody's holding them accountable? That is pick-me behavior. You should be doing a video talking about how they'd be trifling and using all of us. They'll pick you and then go pick her as well too. It's not special. Getting engaged is actually it's not a compliment, it's not special, it's not unique. It's actually quite embarrassing sometimes, right? Yeah, I'm just the bitter single woman, so what do I know? I think that's all I want to say. It's just to do, it's Women's History Month. This is why this conversation is really important. It's us doing the patriarchy's work. I'm going to start with defending pick-me's, right, before I turn on them. And that's because my initial reaction is always one of defensiveness. You better sit down. Why are you being so disrespectful? Girl, you better back up off of us. I'm gonna start right there. Let me address you first. Let me just address you first before I turn on myself. Because you're right. I'm not gonna hold you. You're right. But that tone, that nasty ass attitude. Let's talk about that. Because your insecurity is showing up. Something is happening, and I know you think you're just out here, but something is happening. I'm exposing something, and I want to get to that. Because what are you doing? What are you really, really doing? You're making fun of the most vulnerable? What does that do for you? I'm including myself when I do that. What does that do for us? It makes us feel good. It makes us feel powerful. makes us feel less ashamed. Or like, did your balls drop? Did that man F you good at night? For getting online and saying you want to whip other women? Like, what did that do for you? And I think sometimes we need to sit there and act like, why are we going so hard at other women when we leave these men off the hook? That is essentially pick-me behavior. You gotta see and clock it when you're also doing it. We have to be able to see when we are also engaging in it, which is why they're like, oh, she's bragging about being a bad pass and making bad behavior decisions. And no, it's not. Did you not ask for accountability? Did you not ask for accountability? Does accountability not start with telling the truth? So yes, I have been a pick-me. And because you cannot sit there and say, yes, I have been a pick-me, that's not my problem. You have to sit there because most of these women have been pick-me's, especially the ones who want and are married. You did some things to get you. Oh, let me guess. You just got picked without asking to be picked? You're just so unique and so special? Yeah, we tell ourselves that. We tell ourselves that. This time is going to be different. All those other women it didn't work out for, it's because you were waiting for me. I'm here now. Pick me. I got options, right? We talk about big talk, but like, again, I could be wrong. I'm projecting, right? Maybe I'm just projecting. I'm open to that. Call me out on it. But I think a lot of it stems from being unable to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes these people are not very honest with themselves. They can't see themselves well. We're not always the most self-aware, right? It's easier to see other people's shit than to see our own shit. And we have to be loud about their shit to not continue to see our own shit. If I'm loud about you being a pick-me, you'll never suspect I was ever a pick-me. Matter of fact, you don't know that I'm still a pick-me. So that's where I'm going to end this here. I'm going to start with defending ourselves, and then I'll get into why being a pick-me is actually just not great either, right? Why I absolutely agree with what was said by so many people on why pick-me's are disgusting, embarrassing, and dangerous. So I'm going to do both sides, okay? People, pick a side. The side I pick is essentially don't be a desperate pick-me. But if you have and are, have some compassion, because there's usually a reason why, right? It's a product of something deeper, which requires a lot of healing and a lot of recognizing that we're all being played, that a lot of this is religious indoctrination, a lot of this is cultural, societal norms, right? It's normal to be a pick-me. And when I was thinking about how to approach this, the first thing that came to mind, no shame, no disrespect to Laverne Cox, was Laverne Cox. And I think that, again, I had to recognize that part of my problem is when I need to be accountable and shame is keeping me stuck, it helps to throw other people under the bus first. Well, Laverne was with a white cop, mega cop. That is the ultimate dude. And my creative spirit was like, girl, no, that's also been, just because you've chased black men who might as well have been white, who were living loud with the cop in their heads. They might not have been a cop, but they were cops. Look at the surveillance that they were engaged in. Look at the people. You have been attracted to men who look like white men, who were conservative. And so everybody was dogging Laverne Cox for being desperate. But you have to also recognize that sometimes the one that's desperate is actually, yes, it's just looking for love. Might have never been loved right. And it's so weird to get online and shame that. Because oh, congratulations, you were raised with a mother that loves you. Wow. You never chased your parents' love. Oh. You're so healed. And then what? And then, yeah, dang. Then did your balls drop? It made you feel better to dog on someone when they were down? Because you've never been desperate for love? Do you know how painful it is to be desperate for love? Do you know? It sounds like you don't. So then shut up. So then shut up. Because you don't know what it's like to be so desperate for love. And that's my problem. It's a lot of these women that are desperate, they're not just desperate for male approval. We're desperate across the board. We're begging our mothers to love us. We're begging our fathers to love us. We're begging our siblings to love us. We're begging our families to love us. We're begging strangers to love us. We're pick-me's with our friends. Sometimes we're the worst pick-me's with other women. Clock that. You want to talk about that? I've done some desperate shit to keep women as friends. There's larger issues. This is a bigger conversation than just being about men. But because your love triangle has traumatized you so much or has pissed you off so much that you hate all of these women who, go talk to your man. Why is he still making you feel insecure? Why are you not secure in that relationship yet? Why do you still care? And I have to ask myself, oh, I'm actually not healed. This thing still triggers me. There's still some emotions behind it. Oh, I'm still giving my power away, right? And so I'll end it there. And then, like I said, I'm going to start with why shaming desperate women is nasty work. And then I'll get into why being a desperate woman is nasty work. So I'm going to cover both sides, okay? Stop using desperate women as a scapegoat, as a punching bag, because you're afraid to take it out on your man. And stop going after. Close your legs to married men, like Nene Leakes said, right? Leave the men alone. No more love triangles, please, for 2026. You will never find me in another love triangle. In Jesus' name, I pray. Because that is a lesson I couldn't. That's a loop I've been in. And all it was turning me against other women. And if you remember from why does he do that? That is an abuser's tactics. That's what the players use. Oh, I can't help it. I'm just so desirable that all these women want me. You're dealing with an abuser more times. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. You're dealing with a player. I never want to be with a player. Ever again. Right? And maybe this is wishful thinking that any man is not a player. We're going to get into that. Where we're lying to ourselves, where we're lying to other people, and where we're projecting on other people, where we're using other people as our punching bags to feel better about whatever hardships we're going through. A lot of us are going through stuff. But a lot of people have a hard time admitting they're going through stuff, myself included. Right? Not only do we not know how to ask for help, but we pretend everything is okay. Because to show that it's not okay means that we're not perfect. And we've been raised to pretend that we're perfect. Even when we don't do that, even when we're like, I don't do that, it still could be there. Right? Again, so I'll end this here. And I'm going to get my papers and notes together and figure out how to get back. But that's what's coming for the next 2 videos after this. A lot of people online have talked about picked but not chosen. So that's not original to me. So when I use picked but not chosen, I didn't create that. I didn't come up with that. I stole that. Okay? That we're going to return to goddesses. I'm going to talk about a witch. We're going to talk about Rhonda, Bali's queen of demons and widow witch. So we'll get into another one of the 50 goddesses, and then I just want to talk about being a pick-me. Okay? So until next time, in solidarity.